Well, many of us have a vision for ourselves in retirement, but if we haven't taken the necessary steps to prepare for it, that vision can elude us. Author Jack Tatar has written about what he calls the 4 keys to a safe retirement. He sums it all up in his brand new book, Safe for Retirement. Jack, good having you on the show.
Becky, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you have these 4 keys, and the first key on the list is financial preparedness. Many people wonder, when should I start preparing for retirement financially?
Well, it's never too early to prepare for. Fortunately, we know that, but we often don't act on that. I mean, you can actually start as early as even my 16-year-old son. Now that he's working, he can open up an IRA. But unfortunately, we start thinking about these things as we get closer to retirement. So it's never too early to retire. And the realities are the issues around having enough money for retirement, they're compounding because of the economic woes and healthcare costs and things of that nature. So it's becoming much more of an issue these days.
It's much more important to consider planning. So do you think a person can do it on their own, or do you think they need to have help?
Well, there are a lot of options for people to do it on their own, but I think when you look at the issues related to retirement for retirees and for pre-retirees, I think it warrants taking a look at working with an advisor. And in looking at an advisor, there's a lot of things to consider. Most advisors are recommended to people from referrals and things of that nature. But in the book, I talk about a way to kind of go through a process of choosing the right advisor, taking a look at the individuals, seeing how they work with people, what are their service level commitments, what's their background, things of this nature. You can actually Google information on different advisors. But most importantly, I think it's important for an advisor not to just look at your financial situation, but to really come to know you as someone and know what your hopes and dreams are, certainly for retirement, and what you hope to accomplish in your retirement.
Before you sit down with a financial advisor, or you do this yourself, you probably have to be pretty clear in terms of what your goals are, but also what you even
Right.
have a pretty good understanding of that, no?
Right, correct. One of the things when you talk about one of the 4 keys is financial preparedness. When you start thinking about retirement, you've really got to roll your sleeves up. And working with an advisor is great because you can get some expertise and they can kind of push you, but the reality is the job is something that you need to do. You need to roll your sleeves up, you need to lay out what your assets are, what your liabilities are, really take a look at your own balance sheet. Go find all those papers that are in the boxes of all the different statements you have out there, pull and get them and put them in front of someone and say, here's what I have. It's the only way to plan, as well as it's also going to help you out with your next of kin in terms of handling, okay, what do I do with this money later on?
You know, when choosing a financial advisor, many people think it's better to go with the big firms, the big names, but oftentimes they have their own products that they're selling for that company, and that may not be in your best interest.
That's correct. And I think the reality is you have to look at the individual that you're going to. They'll tell you that as well, whether they work for a big firm or whether they work independently. You're going to work with that financial advisor. The big firms, yes, they have products to sell, but so do the little firms. Everyone has products to sell, and I was an advisor for a number of years, so I know the good and the bad side of that. But the important thing is to work with someone that you trust, someone who you really feel has your best interest at heart, not their interest.
We look at our lives in these various compartments, but you mentioned a holistic approach to your retirement. So how much information beyond what your assets and liabilities are should you disclose to a financial advisor? And I'm thinking, say, for example, health, because health costs are going to be some of the biggest that we're going to have to tackle in retirement.
Well, I think one of the interesting things that we're seeing right now is that there used to be this firewall up between discussing health care and health and your finances. And what more advisors are starting to recognize is just what you said, the healthcare. So they're starting to say, I need to discuss this with my clients. And clients are starting to say, I need to bring this up. I need to get some advice from my advisor about this. Because the reality is the gap between what Medicare and ultimately what your medical costs are going to be in retirement is $250,000 per family.
Well, in other words, you're going to have to pay that.
Right.
You're going to have, just for your health care, you're going to have an estimated $250,000.
Right. Now,
in today's dollars.
That's correct. And that takes into consideration care and those types of issues. So the costs are immense. And it is a financial matter. And because it's a financial matter, advisors are starting to say, I need to bring this up with my clients. I need to discuss this with my clients because I can have the best plan, retirement plan, investment plan with my client, but that could be knocked down because of some health issue, either with the client, their family member, or their spouse.
Yeah, and when it comes to anticipating what might happen with Medicare, Medicaid, Security, should you count on that being there, or if you're a younger boomer or even younger, should you say, I have to really plan to foot most of the retirement bill myself?
Well, I think the reality is
they're unsustainable right now.
Well, right. Whether they're going to go away or whatever is up in the air. The reality is it's going to change. Okay, Social Security rules are going to change. That age that you can get the benefits, that's going to keep moving further and further. Medicare is what we have right now is we have some options for people to take more responsibility for their health care costs, and I think you're going to see more and more of that. Such things as the HSA, the Health Savings Account, which is something that you can take advantage of if you have a high deductible insurance plan. You can basically put up to $6,250 into an HSA per family, and it's not if you don't use it, you lose it. You can actually roll that over. That for a number of years. All of a sudden, as you get older, you put that together, that can help pay for some of these supplemental costs.
All right, it pays to do your homework and to really start planning. Jack Tatar, the book is Safe for Retirement. Thanks so much.
Becky, thank you so much.
And we're going to continue with 12 on the Money. We'll take a break first, though.